Hello, respected viewers. Yeah, the Labour conference is over a few days ago, and it wasn't the triumphalistic tone that you might expect, because of course it's their first conference in office since 2009. Is their first conference since being ushered into office since 1997. So for the first time in 27 years, they can say, "Yep, we've kicked the Conservatives out." And we just got into government. So you'd think they'd be more jubilant. It was a little bit downbeat, partly because the whole mood music of Labour in the run up to the conference was, "Oh, we're in dire straits economically. Those irresponsible, incompetent Tories, they've wrecked the economy. Therefore, they're going to have to be swinging cuts to things like the winter fuel allowance for pensioners, and there'll have to be some eye-watering tax rises." And they've actually trash talked the United Kingdom so much, it's really undermined business confidence and the feel good factor amongst consumers. So it's become a self fulfilling prophecy. Anyway, so it wasn't a particularly good conference for Labour. I mean, it wasn't disastrous, but it bodes ill. This is about as good as it's going to get. The honeymoon, such as it has evaporated, and they're already beset by division and controversy and scandal with all those freebies that David Lammy, was it Rachel Reeves, Angela Rayner, and Sakir Starmer are taking. So a fish rots from the head down. Well, that is the example they've set of ethically suboptimal behavior. Nobody suggests it's unlawful, but he's a multimillionaire skinflint who won't even buy his own clothes and all the rest of it, and say, "Oh, well, I had to take this free accommodation from Lord Wahid Ali so my son could study for his GCSEs without being pestered by the press." Okay, but you could have paid for the accommodation. Anyway, I mean, I know it's a bit of a red herring. It's not that important, and I can imagine Conservatives doing it likewise. But the idea that they're purer than pure is obviously for the birds. And there was some heckling about Palestine and so on, and there's deep discomfiture in the Labour Party about these cuts to the fuel allowances, so the External Intelligence Service, or indeed MI5 service and so on. The armed forces don't have them. The police have a trades union, but they're not permitted to strike and so on. There's been a police strike, an unofficial one, since 1919. There could be a blue flu again. So wanting more workers' control, Labour looking like they're going to renege on their manifesto pledges in a record time. The idea that you'll get full workers' rights from day one, that's beloved of Angela Rayner, that may not come to us because big business is very much against it. Labour's talking out of both sides of its mouth, saying be communist on workers' rights, at the same time saying to the corporations, no, 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 we're not going to do anything which makes it more difficult to dismiss people. You know, as I remember, the chairman of the U.S. Federal Reserve, Alan Greenspan, way back in the late '90s, said if they can't fire easily, they won't hire. We won't take on this member of staff because if he or she turns out to be inadequate, we won't be able to dismiss the person. Remember, there's the right not to be discriminated against, which is different from the right not to be unfairly dismissed. At the moment, that doesn't take effect until you've been in the job for at least 2 years. And then obviously there's more of a gig economy, the more people on 0 hours contracts. Labour sort of ban those, are giving sort of greater rights as though you're employed to those in 0 hours contracts. That would play havoc with business. And obviously there's worklessness, which is increasing. And the Conservatives have dismally failed in this. The culture of entitlements, more and more people on benefits, despite the Tories talking tough on this, they actually haven't walked the walk. And it's expanded ever more. The people who claim they're too mentally ill, lackadaisical, layabouts, scroungers, most of them, chancers. And it's going to get better under Labour because you're evil if you say that people have to support themselves. Like, you know, all these people with supposedly special educational needs and getting alternative one-on-one tutoring for £75 an hour, paid for by the likes of me, an ordinary child, a well-behaved child that don't get this, often extremely badly behaved ones get this. I heard of a girl in Hampshire, and there was already a £40,000 per annum budget for her education tutoring, paid for by taxpayers. £40,000. That would give you boarding in a top independent school, and then they're suing the council because it's not enough. The ingratitude, they're not thankful to everybody else who's paying these staggering sums of money, often people who are uneducable, who are going to get duff grades anyway. But Labour's going to make it even worse. So it's all deeply dispiriting and sickening. So some heckling of Rachel Reeves's speech. She responded like the robot she is. they're a party of government, not dealing with the substantive issue until the young man was manhandled out of the hall. So there's disquiet over what's happening in Gaza. That Labour, yes, it suspended some export license of weapons to Israel, but still murder weapons are being exported to Israel, knowing that they're being used to target Palestinian civilians on a massive scale. Israel, which is being hyper aggressive, destabilizing the Middle East, which is escalating the conflict, attacking in different directions. Anyway, it's horrendous, led by that ultra hawk Netanyahu, who is detested by huge swathes of Israeli society, and not just Arab Israelis, by the liberal left and so on. And he's just a pathological liar, just vile. One of the most evil leaders of any country in the world. He's not quite Kim Jong Un level, but okay, not too far off either. Not too bad to his own nationality. Is just horrific to foreigners. So, not a very good conference for Labour, and it's predicted only going to get worse. So, Mick Lynch and the RMT, that's the Railway, Maritime and Transport Workers Union, demanding much more is done to strengthen the trades unions to bring back strikes. Supposedly, there'll be things like, they're going to get what is it? Public ownership of the railways and stuff like this. So it looks like they won't really deliver. Okay, and about prisons, the too many people go to prison. The prison is useless. So releasing people from prison, and surprise, surprise, crime is going to go up. You've actually incentivized crime, and look at all those hospitals are built in record time. During COVID, something similar could be done with prison, porter cabin prisons or whatever. So Labour saying prison doesn't work. Well, they certainly think it does. So they want to hold political prisoners. Anyone who offends against their ideology, that's it, jail, for being so-called extremist, which is being a dissident. This is other things worthy of Putin's Russia. And sickeningly, the Conservative Unionist parties are the same thing, led by Michael Gove, a journalist, an enemy of freedom of expression. So the closing of the Overton window, the criminalization of freedom of conscience, of dissent, the assault on civil liberties, taking away people's right to protest at the relevant location, to only allow demonstrations that are going to be completely ineffective. Obviously, even more politicized policing, turning the police into Labour's Gestapo to enforce their murderous policies against children. It is nauseating, and what can I say? I despair sometimes. So that's it. Homes for heroes. Well, we'll see what that happens. And obviously, not recruiting enough people for the armed forces. Conservatives dismally failed. They farmed that out to Consignia, a company which was absolutely appalling. And then their racist policies made sure that they even have enough soldiers, discriminating against whites, particularly white boys, to get more ethnic minority soldiers. I have no objection to ethnic minority soldiers. Even every single soldier in the British Army is ethnic minority. Wouldn't bother me one whit. You can't say, no, we can't have whites. We can only aim it as ethnic minorities who didn't come forward in anything like sufficient numbers. People apply to the Army, Royal Air Force and Navy, and then don't even get called in for an interview for months, by which time they take another job, and bye-bye, they're not coming back. So there's been terrible mismanagement from Labour. The things can only get worse. They've already had some people who've resigned from the party. Rosie Duffield, someone I don't see eye to eye with it a lot, but I recognise she's a woman of integrity and actually does something which is considered scandalous in the Labour Party. Tells the truth. She's not an elective idiot. She knows what a woman is, and she's not going to lie and say that a man is a woman and vice versa just to appease the personality disorder of some people. In a psychiatric hospital, you can see people who say they're John the Baptist. If I would say I'm John the Baptist, I should be disabused of that. And the psychiatrist said, no, you're not, rather than reinforcing these illusions. Reality is not negotiable like that. It's not just whatever people would like to imagine it to be. We shouldn't be going along with these outrageous, idiotic lies. But, that's Labour for you, and the Conservatives almost as bad. Johnson, in his memoirs, revealed that Penny Mordaunt said that the trans issue was the most urgent one of our times. He could scarcely, conceal his smirk. It impacted an infinitesimally small number of people. Obviously, in bygone centuries, such surgeries didn't exist, and people who felt this way just had to get over themselves. Anyway, thank you for watching my channel. So there's little reason to be optimistic after this Labour conference. The Conservative conference is underway, and again, that is equally disappointing. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you subscribe on Patreon, donate to PayPal, georgecallahan79@gmail.com. Goodbye.